Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the No BS Social Media Show. I'm Kim Walsh Phillips, and I am here with an incredible guest. Welcome to the show, Annie Pratt. It is so fantastic to have you with us today.
Thanks for having me. Great to be here.
Well, I am thrilled to have you on the show because of the incredible value that I have gotten from you, getting to work with you and your team. We have our Chief Operating Officer, Kelly, going through coaching with your team, which has made an impact right away. I've gotten to see the beautiful impact you've made on lots of people's companies and their mindset and their teams, getting to be alongside of you in a mastermind that we're both in. And now so many can be blessed by your brilliance with your brand new book called The People Part. So I'd love for you to first share with folks a little bit about the company that you founded that is behind the magic. And then even if you wouldn't mind sharing, what drove you to write the book?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So the first thing is, let me answer the second one first. What drove me to write the book? I have, as I've been working with leaders and teams, and this is a long time now, I get the question a lot of what book can I get? And I always had like parts of books I could say, like this part of this book and this other part of this other book. But I didn't have like one place where it could all come together, and primarily around the people part. Meaning that there's lots of books out there about systems and process and strategy, but at the end of the day, if the people part's not working, your business isn't working. So, and the way I found really understood that at such a deep level was first, I started my career in a family business called the Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf. And hopefully a bunch of your listeners will know it. My parents started in the 60s, but I was the CEO all during the 90s. And during the 90s, I was able to grow it from something very small, 7 stores, to something quite big, 70 stores that were all doing much more volume. I was growing the business during what I think of as the coffee beverage revolution. So it was a great time. We made a lot of new beverages. We grew very fast. I started with 60 team members. I ended up with more than 1,500 here just in the US. And we did some overseas licensing too. And one of our overseas licensees, a little bit unexpectedly, turned around and bought us at the end of the 90s. Okay, so then after that, I had the opportunity to work with all kinds of different businesses, and mostly entrepreneurial run businesses. And I found really a niche in that. And what was just so striking about it was, as I would work with different entrepreneurs, I would find that they were so excellent at their expertise, right? Like whatever magic they brought, the things that they knew, how they were as people, was awesome. And the second thing is, none of them got into business to have a giant team.
Right. Yeah. That's never the big vision and dream of starting their company.
Exactly. But every entrepreneur I've worked with has run into this spot where, even though they don't want a team, a significant team, the thing is that they can't grow more without it.
Right.
And that's the whole reason to have a team, is not only so you can grow your business, which, will grow your financial picture, will also impact so many more people. And even more important is you will get the life you want. Mm-hmm. Because without having people to support you, without having team members, even if they're part-time, even if they're contractors, mm-hmm. you can't get people to take real responsibility. So you can take a vacation. So you can, work 4 days a week if you want, or do the things you love on the business, including looking out to the future, right? Not having to only work on the crises and the problems that are happening today. That's the part that gets really draining. And often entrepreneurs come to me like burning out, feeling like, I don't even know if I like my business anymore. And I'm like, we can fix that.
Right. And I think they feel almost, betrayed or hurt, like they've gone through many bad breakups where that just could have been, they just didn't know how to pick the right people or manage them in the right way. And it wasn't that like, it's not you, it's me, a situation that's happening there. But sometimes it was just never going to work. Like there was nothing you could have done to make it the right fit. Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And one of the things that I talk about in the book that I really want entrepreneurs to look for when they're hiring, and even with people on their team now, and that is to look for self-leadership. Okay. And what self-leadership is it's learning how to regulate your emotional reactivity. Okay. So that means that when you have thoughts or your team member has thoughts, this is something we want from everybody on the team, that when they have thoughts of or are behaving in a way that's with blame, criticism, judgment, maybe avoidance, people in overwhelm kind of spinning around, could be anything, manipulation, denial, defensiveness, that's a big one. When they go to those places, when we recognize it's so human, we are wired to go to those kind of emotionally reactive places. When we are there, when we are in a place of blaming somebody else or avoiding a problem, we are no longer working on the business. We are totally self-focused, not in a good way. We actually lose access to the front part of our brain. Once we get triggered, we have this threat detecting machine inside us called the amygdala, and they catch a threat and they don't even let us go to this front part of our brain to think. They catch the threat and it immediately sends blood to our extremities so we can run away like we were still cave people, but we're not. And we can learn to regulate that. We can learn to recognize when we get triggered. And first thing is to recognize it and pause. When we feel that urge to say something kind of blaming or to, for me to be like, oh my gosh, I'm out of here. Like when I feel that urge to leave, I know that I can pause. I can take some deep breaths, get back to the front part of my brain, and then say something useful, right? Then I can ask a question, for example. Okay, we want that for you, but we also want you to be looking for those red flags in team, including in an interview. And when you're interviewing for new team members, you want to ask questions about past challenges, stress, maybe mistakes they've made, difficulties they've gone through. So one of the questions I might ask for somebody who's interviewing to work even directly with me is, tell me about a time that you had a boss that wasn't good at giving enough direction, right? So that you weren't really sure what to do to finish a project. Like, what did you do? How did it turn out? And that way you get to hear if people answer it in a way that's like, I had a boss who was terrible that way, and I couldn't get anything done, and I finally quit. People say that. Some people say, I just waited. I just had to wait. And that's not a good answer either, right?
Oh, it's
You want the answer of like, hey, I reached out. I talked about what I thought I needed to do. And then I had my boss at least respond to that. I asked some other people who had been working at the company a lot longer than me, what might I do in this situation? And those are the kinds of things you're looking for.
You mentioned about our response when we're responding in emotion in ego versus overall global good of the company and the team. And that reminds me really of social, which is, we're bringing it back to that on this show being about social media. I think about that from a perspective of a few different things. One is I've seen people complain about their boss, their employees, or their workers, somebody who just quit. You've seen people play that out sometimes on social media. And I have to imagine they're not thinking with the rational brain in that moment. Do you think that's something worth addressing with a team every now and then? Or yes. How would you recommend people deal with that?
I do. So first, I recommend that you kind of set an expectation. And it's an expectation of how here at our company, we have each other's backs. Okay, that means that we don't go on social media in the same way that we wouldn't go into a meeting with everybody in the company and start criticizing other people.
Right.
Because the first thing is that when you do that, people in their minds, they're right away thinking, oh my gosh, I wonder what this person says about me.
Right.
When I'm not around.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so we want people to be, you know, learning how to directly address issues and problems. And instead of complaining on social media, you want to keep things in social media more positive, more, you can certainly talk about issues and problems to have support with or ideas or whatnot, but not things that actually target another person, because that damages relationships.
Right. That's my thought is it could be screenshot. That person doesn't be connected to you, but you don't know who knows who knows who. Why put something on there? My philosophy on this is that if you wouldn't be willing to have it on the Today Show, you shouldn't be putting it on social media. Like we shouldn't be doing it that way. Okay. That makes a lot of sense to me. But then there's this other side of things that there's this trail that will follow people into their future from their past. What are some recommendations? So in this world that we have, we're looking at attracting top talent, right? If I'm running a company, I want to attract top talent to my company. What do you think we should be putting online as employers to maybe attract to us the right people to want to work as part of our team?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's such a great question, because it is the most powerful thing that entrepreneurs have. I think of it as your reputation is the most powerful thing you have to attract other people. And it's not just the reputation you put out there, but it's the reputation that like the people that already work with you will be telling all their friends and family and putting out there as well. Okay. So for that, I think of it as not only do you want to be putting up like, you know, positive things about your company, but you want to be authentic. And here's the thing about being authentic. This is a way I've had to think about this for a long time of how do you talk about issues and problems without being weak, right? Like, it's like, because you don't want to get the reputation as like, this person is always, you know, in their social media, talking about complaints, talking about the bad things that are happening to them. It's always poor me. Okay. You don't want that. Right. At the same time, you don't want everything's always great. You know, we had this teeny tiny thing today, but it's still all great. Okay. Instead, what we want is when something happens that's maybe not so great, that you do want to share with people because you want to get connected. That's, I believe, why we want to be authentic, right? Is so that people can relate to us. They can see that they're like us. So to do that, you can talk about, I had this issue come up, okay? And what you're talking about then is, here's how I handled it. Here's some of the solutions I thought of. Here's what I did differently. And the reason is when you do that, when you do those two things combined, it says, even though I'm having issues or having an issue, I can handle it. I can do something different. Sometimes I put up, you know, I talked with my team. Here's how we decided to handle it. Here's how it went. So we don't look like victims. We look like business people who, you know, encountered a challenge and did something with it.
I love that. And I love that storytelling, right? Like we bring them along on the journey, but it's almost better to do it after you've solved it in a way versus like, it's like, you know, scars versus what is that? Scars are that term that we share it. So it's a lesson learned versus we're in the middle of it. And we don't know how it's going to turn out.
Exactly. Yes. We want to share when we, have ideas for how to be powerful, how to do it differently. And that's the way to be authentic without being weak, right?
Yeah, 100%. I think that's so good. Okay, well, this show's all about marketing, and the people is really important, but I want to know, how are you marketing your book, Miss Annie? Give us some of the
Yeah.
strategies you're going to be using to continue to get this in the hands of the people who need it so much.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, one of my main strategies is this is talking with business owners, entrepreneurs who have podcasts, who do interviews. And one of the reasons I love this is because I totally enjoy like Q&A.
Right.
Right? Like I'm so much better in Q&A than I am like preparing a big presentation. I can do it, but I much more prefer this. So I'm doing quite a few of these. I'm doing more than a dozen. So
Oh, great. That's
yeah, so
awesome.
that feels great. And then we are posting, we did a kind of a pre-order campaign, a lot on social media and to our own list. And I have been putting out, how would I say, like on social, parts of the book, like starting with a quote and then talking about something in the book that's super interesting, that's kind of grabby. And that's getting some conversations going too.
Oh, I just love that. I'm so happy that I got in on the pre-order, so I got my book right away, and it's so good. And where should people go? Two questions. Where should people go to get a copy of it? And question number two, is there a hashtag they should use to post about it?
Oh, hashtag people part.
Okay, great. Awesome.
Yep. And it's the people part because I've had so many entrepreneurs say to me, I'm great at what I do, but I'm not great at the people part. It's like,
That's so smart. I love it. That's
biggest
so
part.
good.
We're gonna get you good at that.
I
So yeah,
love it.
hashtag people part. And then for getting the book and for also getting a bonus that comes with the book. I'm doing a webinar that we're also going to record so that you have instant access to it when you purchase the book. And you can go to AnnieHymanPratt.com.
Yay. Awesome. That's so good. Okay. AnnieHymanPratt.com. We'll make sure that we link it up in the show notes. Thank you so much for joining us, Annie. You were awesome. And congratulations on your incredible book. Thank you so much for writing it. We all need it so bad.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you. Thank you.